which was a good time. And then we saw each other again in California. So it's good to see you.
Yeah. Yeah. Your meetup was one of the first, well, you were one of the first Bitcoiners I ever met. You're probably like a third one I ever met in person. I've told the story before, but I think I've told you the story, but it was at your meetup with Greg Foss, the first time I met other Bitcoiners in real life. And, so the first in-person Bitcoiner experience I had was walking down, Windsor, Ontario, not knowing where I am, just walking down, looking for this hotel or whatever where we were doing it.
Wait, didn't
And
you get pulled over at the border?
I did. I got
Yeah.
pulled over at the Canadian border. So, on the way to Canada from Michigan, going across the bridge, I was pulled over. It took like 2 hours. They searched my car. They they didn't interrogate me, but they asked me a lot of questions. They had to validate, and of course, like my story just kept getting worse and worse, right? It's like, who are you gonna meet? Well, Alan, I don't really know this Alan guy. Have you ever met him? No. Where are you meeting up at a hotel? And it turned out it wasn't technically a hotel, or at least a lot it was on wasn't zoned like a hotel. So they thought I was lying about where I was going. They thought,
Oh,
like,
wait,
what's
wait,
the
hold
event
on.
for?
There's been a
Well, some
few
Bitcoin thing. So I was just stupid.
there's been a few guys who've come and got pulled over at the border. Were you the one where they thought you were meeting up for some like gay encounter with me?
No,
No,
no.
okay. Somebody got pulled over. I forgot who it was. I remember who it was. He was coming from Michigan, a friend of mine, to our meetup, and they pulled him over and they thought he was coming for some gay encounter or something.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I'm just going to a Bitcoin meetup. It's like, anyways.
The Michigan Canadian border. Well, and obviously for the years after the pandemic and lockdown, Alan was not able to come over to the US, right? So actually a couple Canadian friends of mine, other than Alan, have come over and visited me in Michigan. They're like, wow, this is the first time in years I've been to the States, right? Anyway, all I have to say is that it was a very interesting first day for Bitcoin meetup. So thank you for being a part of that experience of being in the Canadian, you know, border patrol or whatever, like with Greg Foss on the phone, trying to
Yeah,
validate that, hey, this is an actual person,
I
like
remember
I'm
that.
not, So anyway, I finally get Greg on the phone. He validates, takes, however long, a couple hours for me to get out. I finally get there. I hear Greg from the balcony, in his very recognizable voice shouting
Yeah.
down to me like where he is, and then you, me, and Greg Foss all went, and Brandon and a couple other guys all went out to dinner, and that was my first in-person Bitcoin experience.
Yeah.
So and
And
then
for all the Greg Foss haters, he paid for all of us to eat. Very generous guy, very nice
he
man.
always pays. He always pays.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
he gets a lot of flack online and all this. He's one of the most genuine guys you'll meet. Very very generous. So lots of love for Greg Foss.
Well, that gets right into the whole controversy thing because Greg gets a lot of, well, shoot, most Bitcoiners get a lot of flack or a lot of controversy. Greg Foss does, obviously. You do. A lot of people I know do. And, I do too, right? Because I use a lot of clickbait and I, am very bullish. And so people tend to think that I'm naive or whatever. So, but yeah, it's funny, when you hang out with people in real life, though, whatever disagreements or controversies there are, like everyone just kind of forgets about, right? And even once in a while, I'll even meet up with Bitcoins in real life where like they've been really vicious against each other online, but they meet up in person and they're like, "Yeah, sorry, I'm a little too harsh," and like, "Yeah, sorry, me too," and then they just kind of go over it. But um, yeah,
Everybody
it's funny how that
softens and
works.
everyone softens in real life, it seems. Or if I've had this happen where I've met some people who were like pretty harsh online in real life, but I didn't know it was them until after I'd met them. And I realized, boy, they were pretty quiet in real life. So either they come out and say, sorry, bro, it is what it is, or they're just quiet and then you find out, oh, that was that guy, so it is interesting how the keyboard warriors are in real life.
Yeah, definitely. I just noticed your shirt, Alan. Obviously, people aren't watching this on January 3rd, but we're recording this on January 3rd. of 2024. Today's Bitcoin's 15th birthday, so happy birthday, Bitcoin. And to celebrate Bitcoin's birthday, it decided to crash on us. It decided to crash from 45,000 or whatever down to like 42 or 41, 42,000, whatever it's trending at today. But yeah, yeah. So that's funny. So with Bitcoin's history, Alan, what is your history in coming to find Bitcoin? Can you share with all of us the background of how you got into Bitcoin, what resonated and clicked with you, and then, just give us a larger worldview of how you started your book, your ministry, your meetup. How are you? How'd you get to this point today?
Yeah, it's, if you would have told me 3, 4, 5 years ago, however long it's like, wow, I can't believe it's been a whole total cycle already. Time flies when you're in Bitcoin, I guess. But if you would have told me before Bitcoin that I'd write a book, I think I have a copy here. If you would have told me that I would have wrote a book called The Bible and Bitcoin, and that I'd be this Bitcoin guy and that people would, know me as the Bitcoin pastor, I would have said, you're crazy. What hath the Lord to do with Bitcoin? Um, but it's been a very fun and wild journey into this space. Of course, I'm a Christian, and so I was saved in 2008. I was baptized, and then I fought for quite a while my calling into ministry. I didn't really want to do it, and people would say, "Hey, you should be a preacher. You should become a pastor. We think you have the gifting." And I was like, I'm not interested in that. And people would ask why, and the reason I always gave was, well, because I want to make money. And there's not much money in pastoral ministry, despite what the haters online would say. Oh, the church just wants your money, and this pastoring is a grift. And this, look, guys, the vast majority of us don't make a lot of money. Let me put it this way. If you want to grift for big money, don't use Christianity. Okay, it's not going to go well for you in the sense of making a ton of money. What you see out there with the big guys who make a ton of money, we're talking a very small fraction of these guys make this big money by using Christianity as a grift. The rest of us, we're just barely making it financially. So with that said, I wanted to make money in pastoral ministry. I instinctively knew was not the path if you wanted to make money. Over some time and some circumstances and some different things that happened in my life, it became abundantly clear, okay, this was the path God wanted me. So I said, God, I was broke. I said, God, if you want me to go to seminary, you need to pay the way because I'm broke. And I just took a step of faith, and the whole way through seminary I was able to pay for it, through various means and so forth. So that said, I became a pastor, went through the school, jumped through all the hoops, and it wasn't until 2017 my wife was pregnant with our first two, because we had twins. And Bitcoin had a crazy rally in 2017, and I'd heard about Bitcoin a little bit in the past. I went on the Bitcoin faucet way, way, way back in the day when you were able to get free Bitcoin. They were just giving it away back then on a thing called the Bitcoin faucet. I'm not sure. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, for those that aren't familiar, really, actually, it's pretty similar to today, right? Like today, you can get free sats for listening to certain podcasts and certain
Right.
platforms. When you go to these Bitcoin meetups, different companies basically will just give you free Bitcoin along with their business card or pamphlet, to incentivize you to look. So the Bitcoin faucet kind of was like a similar thing. You could get multiple, multiple Bitcoin just from doing that. Obviously, today we're talking, they might give away a few thousand or 10,000 sats. But in the future, people will look back at the 100,000 sats they got, like the whole Bitcoin. But yeah, that's what Alan's referring to. The faucet just gave up free Bitcoin back in the early days.
So back when I did the faucet, I think, don't quote me, it was either 5 Bitcoin or 10 Bitcoin. I think it was 5. And I remember I got an email or something with the keys, and it was just, how they are, a string of numbers and letters and all this kind. And I looked at that and I'm like, what the heck is this? I tried to figure out how to set up a wallet or whatever it was, and I was young and dumb, and I thought, this is too much work for these Bitcoins. I'm just gonna, whatever. Who cares? I didn't put in the work to understand it. I put maybe 10 minutes in, and it was like some math, and I was like, forget it. I'm not into math. I'm just gonna not bother. So that was my first exposure to Bitcoin, was a Bitcoin faucet and me just being too stupid and young and lazy to try to figure it out. My next exposure was 2017 when it had a big run up, and I'm going, oh my gosh, wasn't this the same thing that I was too lazy to figure out many, many years back? And now look at this thing. I think it ran up to 15,000 or 20,000 or something. Big, big numbers. And I thought, boy, this is out of control. And at the time, I again was stupid. I again was lazy. I again didn't put in the work. See, this is a theme. You need to put the work in. I thought, well, I don't have 10, 15,000, whatever dollars. So my wife is pregnant and stuff. So maybe I should just buy some of these other coins, because I saw other coins on there like Litecoin and Dogecoin and this kind of thing. And so I have a side business where I pick up dog poop. And I thought, let me take some of the dog poop money I earned. I had about $200 I made that day, and buy some dog coin or Dogecoin. Or that I thought it would be a funny joke. And my wife said, "This is the dumbest thing you've ever done." And I thought, maybe, maybe. So, anyways, I did it. I bought it at like under a penny, and then we had the kids, and of course, life got crazy and hectic, and I forgot about it. And then I saw that China banned Bitcoin, and then we went into the bear market in 2018. And I thought, was it 2000? Yeah, 2018. And I thought, this thing was a fad. Who cares? Move on with my life, right? And then 2020 happens, and that's when Doge kind of had a bit of a run. And I was looking at Bitcoin because it was having a run, and I thought, okay, I need to figure it out this time. I was too lazy in the faucet days. I was too lazy in 2017. I'm not going to repeat the same mistake now. And so I got obsessive and laser focused. I have to figure out Bitcoin. It keeps punishing me every 4 years. Bitcoin keeps spanking me, and I'm not going to let that happen again. So I went on a journey to figure it out. I looked online. I asked friends who I knew were into crypto, and they were left me more confused than I was. I'm like, man, what is this Bitcoin thing? Why is it so elusive and difficult to understand? And of course, like many other people's stories, it wasn't until I got my hands on the Bitcoin Standard by Saifedean that it clicked. I get it. I was looking for a technical explanation on Bitcoin. How does it work under the hood? While that's important to know, and it's you should endeavor to understand. What I needed was not so much a technical explanation. What I needed was an answer to the why of Bitcoin. I was looking for the answer to what is Bitcoin. What I needed to understand is why is Bitcoin? What problem is it solving? And Saifedean's book helped me understand the why of Bitcoin, the problem of fiat money, the history of money, and how Bitcoin fits into the broader context of human history in that regard. So that's when the light bulb went off, and I started making the connections with Bitcoin, hard money, the morals of money, fiat money. And then from there, the rabbit trail exploded with, oh my gosh, this thing actually fits with my biblical worldview. It's more than just this thing that goes up every 4 years. This has a very important underlying moral nature to it that I have to look. I often say this. I'm not a Bitcoiner because I want more money. I'm a Bitcoiner because I'm a Christian, and it's a moral imperative at this point. Once I understood what it was and what fiat was and how Bitcoin fits into that picture, it became now a moral imperative. I must be a Bitcoiner now, or else I am not living consistent with my Christianity. So that's sort of the broad picture of my Bitcoin journey.
I want to thank you for being a supporter of mine and a viewer of my channel here and a follower of mine. It really means a lot to me that you would support me in my efforts to expand Bitcoin education to a wider audience. And someone else that's doing the same here is my friend and fellow partner and supporter, Brian DeMint. Brian DeMint has done many efforts in Bitcoin here over the last few years, and this is one of them. This is his book. It's Bitcoin Evangelism. See, Brian was the former founder of a crypto project, and once he realized Bitcoin and why it's unique compared to other digital assets and other forms of tokens and money, he wrote this book. He wrote this book comparing why Bitcoin is unique in this sense. So no matter if you're new to Bitcoin, if you're trying to preach the message of Bitcoin, or you know someone that is a little more advanced, you know, wherever your experience level, where you are, this is a book that's probably going to be very useful to you. The text is very readable, lots of bolded quotes from many people throughout history about why Bitcoin's unique, comparisons to former technology, and why Bitcoin is in a similar way. People are irrationally scared of it in the beginning, and lots of great visuals explaining various aspects about Bitcoin, the regular political currency and financial system, and why Bitcoin is most likely going to go up in purchasing power in the future. So again, whether you're new to Bitcoin, you're just trying to explain to someone why Bitcoin is unique compared to other crypto tokens, crypto projects, and political currencies, this could be a good visual aid for you to share to people with easy to readable text and great concepts in there as well. So if you want to continue to support me and you want to support someone else, Brian DeMint's book, Bitcoin Evangelism, I highly recommend you check it out. Thanks.